Now that we know for sure Lucasfilm is hiring 3D experts and shot production managers, there is a new 3D series in the works, and we've been speculating here, of course, a lot about what that could actually be, what could happen. Could we have a Clones Rebellion series? That's what I think we most are interested in. Could we have perhaps a Darth Vader mini-series, an animated series where we see Darth Vader hunting down Jedi or doing his own thing? But one that not a lot have considered is something that I think is very exciting and would reinvigorate the entire Star Wars fandom, and I'm waiting for you guys to tell me this in the comments too, because I was thinking that a Luke Skywalker 3D animated series would be just the most perfect, greatest thing ever. Just think about it. What is the most unexplored area by far? That is post-Ahsoka Season 1, where Thrawn is now officially back, and you have Luke Skywalker in this timeline, you have the Mandalorian, Grogu, Ahsoka will be eventually back too from Peridia. Everybody is involved, even Dathomir, the Night Sisters, and the Witches. This is all shaping up to be a great epic storyline, but not only just the movies. We could have a Clone Wars version of this timeline, but in fact with Luke Skywalker as the protagonist, with the Mandalorian, with Grogu, with Ahsoka. Everybody could be back in animated form. Luke, of course, would make his first appearance in a official 3D animated series, and it would center around Luke Skywalker versus Thrawn. I think this would be just the best series you could ever imagine. And let's start by saying that we have a lot of storylines that we could explore. We have weird storylines like Abeloth being released perhaps. This, of course, signifies the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars series, and you have the big baddies, like the Confederacy could be Thrawn and the Imperial Remnant, whereas the Republic could be, of course, the New Republic, which would be the Jedi with Luke Skywalker and Leia with her New Republic. So it could be a mirror version of the Clone Wars series that we had, but something really fresh and new. We don't know anything about this timeline and how things would shape up. So this gives you a whole lot of leeway where you could have a lot of stories told and interchangeable characters, of course, which is the whole basis, the whole foundation of the Clone Wars series is centered around a lot of characters, multiple characters. You could replace the clones with something else, maybe with rebel soldiers. There's a lot of things you could do, but there are big super characters as well. And Luke making his debut in 3D animated form. I mean, I made this thumbnail, so I don't think if it's good or not, but I think it represents exactly what I'm thinking. But I think the most intriguing story in this new series, if they make it with Luke and in this timeline, I think it would serve the movie that is coming, and also it would serve the Abeloth storyline. I think the Abeloth thing would be really grand and really weird and kind of experimental, kind of great. I think that's the version where Star Wars could be headed. Well, believe it or not, in the old legend stories, there is a way as to Luke Skywalker devising a plan to confront and maybe even kill Abeloth. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. What can we expect from the canonized Abeloth, and how will the galaxy confront her? There are two great powerful entities in the galaxy as we know it. First of all, it's the Bendu. It is such an influential entity that it's said it's an absolute balance within the Force. He has a dominance over the Force and his distinct method to harness it. It is very different from any Jedi or Sith that you can encounter. Even Thrawn tried to reason with this creature and it couldn't. It outsmarted Thrawn in a second and made him look like a fool. It disappeared before him, so much so that Thrawn was intrigued. I believe this is the moment where Thrawn starts to take the Force very seriously. So talking about Abeloth, what could defeat it, we have a couple of questions that we need answering. First of all, I want to take your mind at ease and talk about the question of, could the Bendu actually defeat Abeloth? So with that in mind, Abeloth of course carved her reputation in legends after she emerged again to threaten the galaxy, only to be thwarted by a peak powerful Luke Skywalker. I believe that if we compare the canon Luke right now and the Legends Luke at this time around the New Republic era, Legends Luke was a bit more powerful, I think, but this Luke is not a slouch either. So in those Legend stories, Grandmaster Luke Skywalker was also supported by a united force of Sith and also Darth Krayt. In the tale, Abeloth is pushed back by Luke but remains unscathed. We've talked multiple times about Abeloth's strength in multiple videos, but more recently it has come up because of Balin's actions. Now we need to talk about a new question also. After her setback, Abeloth isn't eliminated but merely retreats into a deep rest. Her mastery over the Force outshines almost all entities, placing her as one of the most formidable figures in the Star Wars history, so surpassing any Jedi or Sith before and after. How could you ask Luke to deal with such a great creature? Now, because the Bendu is a Force manifestation sorta, the Bendu could not eliminate Abeloth, and the problem with all of this is even so that Abeloth is not a mortal. She is, in fact, an immortal being. This is what Luke in Legends came to find out really quickly, and this was the biggest problem, similar to the Mortis gods. So the question is, what endows Abeloth with such vast power, and why is she only held back by her incarceration, by her imprisonment, as we see perhaps in canon on Peridia? You see, I think only by connecting the past, the present, and the future, meaning the legends and the canon material, can we get to a very interesting answer, something that might help us along the way of what can we expect in season 2 of Ahsoka. You see, the foundation of Abeloth's might is intertwined with her origins, believe it or not. We've talked a lot previously about Abeloth's origins, how she came to be who she was, but in order to encapsulate everything, essentially what you need to know is that she was talked about in Keelik folklore. Abeloth was initially referred to as the Servant, with her genuine name becoming a sort of a mastery. The Servant unexpectedly found herself on the primordial verdant planet of the Ones of Mortis. Once the gods came into the Mortis realm and everything fit into place, the Servant was the one who was integrated with them. So she essentially adopted the role of the mother. She orchestrated the son and the daughter harmoniously. She worked with them. She was the one who was able to bring them together, something that the father could not do, as a matter of fact. So this was one of her greatest strengths. However, this tranquility, of course, was short-lived as the Servant's human nature became readily apparent and we saw her age. So she yearned for perpetual companionship with her newfound family, with the Ones. So she approached the font of power and the pool of knowledge, potent force nexuses of shadow and illumination, both of the each side. In her thinking, she thought that by combining the two, she would become one in the middle and try to be like the father, try to be the balancer and keep her son and her daughter in check. Unfortunately, as you may know, her endeavors led to a metamorphosis into a monstrous figure. She was ensnared between the light and the shadow. She evolved into becoming a cosmic, terrifying being. After being abandoned, she transformed into Abeloth. The Ones, with the Keelik's assistance, erected the Center Point Station, encasing their ancestral realm within the Maw, a constellation of black voids, in order to restrain her. Yet Abeloth would sporadically break free from time to time, disseminating chaos only to be subdued by the Ones again. This cycle persisted until the Ones died during the Clone Wars era, as we saw. So Abeloth's subsequent breakout during Luke Skywalker's time time saw her repelled but not completely killed. Luke hypothesized about her eventual resurgence. He knew that at one point in time, since this cycle keep repeating, one day or another, the Abeloth creature would be freed again and would come for them. And so when Luke devised the plan, he went out to seek for the Mortis dagger as a potential killing apparatus, finally ending the Abeloth nightmare. This of course makes perfect sense because the Mortis dagger actually killed the daughter. You see, the son, once obtaining this dagger, tried to kill the father, but the daughter intervened and was killed instead. This means that the dagger can indeed kill immortals such as the Mortis gods. Luke practically knew that the Mortis dagger would do the same for Abeloth, because Abeloth's unparalleled prowess stems from her dual exposure to both nexuses. So she has unmatched wisdom and also unmatched might. Till then, let's speculate and see, what do you think about the Mortis dagger killing Abeloth? Talk to me down below.